So, who saw that coming with the rain? Hey everybody, it's Spark here, and welcome to today's video. We are talking about the race that has just happened in Emilia Romagna in Imola. I've just come back from watching it. Oh my god, what a race. Talk about a little bit of rain just throws everything absolutely out of kilter and half of my predictions out the window. But hey, what we got, what a fantastic race. It was just another brilliant episode in the Hamilton versus Verstappen battle. Drama all the way down up the field, crashes, red flags, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of fun. Fantastic race. Another brilliant race off the back of what we got in Bahrain. If you've seen my videos before, you'll know the score, but for those who are just tuning in, I'll just let you know what I'm doing is that I'm going to be evaluating each team based on how they positioned last year. So that will be from Mercedes all the way down, obviously, to Williams. So without further ado, let's kick off with the big boys at Mercedes. Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton, he'll be gutted to have lost the pole position on the first lap, but oh my god, what a recovery. He was lucky in a way that the red flag has brought him onto the same lap as the other cars, but when he had the opportunity there, boy did he take it. Medium tyres, knew they'd get him through to the end. He picked off every single other car and got fastest lap so he can keep the lead of the championship. So not quite the way he wished his race would pan out, but damage limitation, best he could have done. He's still in the lead of the championship. Fantastic result from the 7-time champion. Valtteri Bottas, on the other hand, easily one of those races to forget. Qualified down in PA, even with the rain, he just did not capitalise at all with anything in the traffic. He doesn't feel like he's particularly confident on the wets at all in any car that he's in, basically. And he did not need a race like that. If he's looking to be kept for beyond 2021, that was not the race that he needed. Especially with George Russell knocking on his doorstep. I mean, they'll be very lucky that they're still in the lead of the World Championship with that. So, bad race for Valtteri, great recovery drive from Lewis. Overall, Mercedes would have been wanting more. Mind you, I could easily say the same thing for Red Bull. But Max Verstappen, he took the lead and he just controlled the race from there. What a fantastic drive and a real statement from him to say, hello, Mr. Hamilton, I'm knocking on the door to your world championship, mate. As soon as he took the lead after the start, he controlled the field. And with Hamilton going off as about lap 33 or 34 on the toes of hairpin, the race was pretty much his to lose. And it would have taken a really silly mistake for him to burn it away, but he kept control. He kept the car exactly where he needed to be. Besides the only downside is that he didn't get fastest lap. So he may not be in the lead championship. He's 1 point away, but he's got a very fast car underneath him. This is exactly the race Verstappen wanted. Sergio Perez, on the other hand, this is a brilliant case of what they call a missed opportunity. The rain that came, because he qualified on the soft tyre, so he would have been compromised with pit stops with his pit strategy. From there, with the rain, it should have really helped him. We should have taken advantage of that. But when we got to the dries, he was in P4 at the time. That spin absolutely killed the race for him. It's new pressure, I think, for Sergio Perez to be in a team like Red Bull, an immense amount of pressure. He made a mistake and he ended up paying for it by not scoring any points. So, no, he's sort of seen this sort of pressure before with McLaren, but this was definitely not the race that Checo needed, and he's going to be needing to bounce back clearly, particularly in his battle, I think, for third place with Valtteri Bottas. And speaking of third place, let's arrive at McLaren. Lando Norris, what a result. P3 after P7 on the grid. We all knew he had pace after that qualifying session. Very risky though with going on to the soft tyre for the restart, but he made it work. Fair play to him. He got driver of the day at the end of the end of the day, and I can't really sort of disagree with that. He took that McLaren to a podium. It's a second podium in Formula One. Absolute banger of a result. Daniel Ricciardo, I suppose with him, he finished in the points, but his best sort of note of the race was the fact that he played the team game and let Norris through, which you could say resulted in his P3 finish. But as soon as Ricciardo was passed by Lewis Hamilton, he just dropped all the way down to the bottom. I think I said in one of my previous reviews that I don't think he's quite gelled with the car yet. And if there was any doubt before, I think this is clear evidence of that. I mean, it's going to take Ricciardo. This is a man who's very sensitive about brakes, because as we've seen when he was in Red Bull, if the brakes are underneath him, he can make some absolute demonic overtake. Maybe that's just the reason why he's hasn't quite gelled with the McLaren yet. I mean, it's a Mercedes engine as well, all those things could be sort of hampering him, but Wasn't the race quite for Ricciardo, but he finished in the points as P6, still points on the board, but he'll be ruining a missed opportunity, especially when he's seen what Lando's been able to do in that same car. So moving on to the Aston Martins now. Drama even before the race started. You had problems with the brakes when both of the cars were ended up with Sebastian Vettel starting in the pit lane. But for Lance Stroll, however, let's say he didn't quite put the brakes on this momentum during the race. See what I did there? Given the Aston Martin car is not quite underneath them, I think that's a brilliant result from him to get P7. We all know he's good in the wet conditions, but once it started drying up, he was able to resist the pressure of Pierre Gasly and of the other cars underneath him. What an absolutely fantastic result for Lance Stroll. And Sebastian Vettel, though, this was yet another race for him to forget. And it's only the second race, and time very much is running out for him to really make some impact within Formula One. But he was essentially the guinea pig for the dry tyres. And when we heard about the stop-go penalty because of his tyres not being fitted on during the 5-minute signal, that's something that could have potentially killed his race. But I expected him to at least score 1 or 2 points from his position. Like, he had the Alpines to contend with, but this was not the race yet again for Sebastian Vettel that he needed. I think all the points that the team have got have been carried over from Lance Stroll. So unfortunately, not the best race for Sebastian. He needs another good one. He needs a good one coming into Portugal. Alpine, on the other hand, they finally got points on the table, but just one. That came from Esteban Ocon, of people, instead of Fernando Alonso. It was P9 for him in qualifying, so compared to what he'd done with the qualifying, I didn't see much of him during the race coverage. I don't know if you guys did, but Esteban Ocon, he scored a point. I mean, there's not really much I can say other than he scored a point for Alpine, which it doesn't feel great to say when you're sharing the same team as someone like Fernando Alonso. And Alonso, P11, and again, he kind of felt quiet. I think the only sort of 1 or 2 sort of things I noted from him was the fact that he almost went off during the installation lap when everything started to rain down. So Alpine, I think, will just be grateful at the fact that they got 1 point on the tally more than anything else. I'm hoping I'm saying different things about them coming on to the next few races. Now, moving on to Ferrari now, this was a very, very good race, even though Carlos Sainz made plenty of mistakes, but he made the most of the red flag and safety car coming to him. He finished in P5. Charles Leclerc, though, I think he'll be ruining a missed opportunity to pounce at Lando Norris, but he would have been harassed trying to defend from charging Lewis Hamilton. But P4 and P5 compared to where Ferrari were previously, this was exactly what they need. And this will be another kickstart for them. Charles Leclerc, he was always within 3rd, 4th or 5th of those sort of spots. He's clearly getting the most out of the Ferrari. Sainz was a little bit lucky to be where he is, but I have no doubt that once he's gelled with the car, they should be able to wrangle what he can out of that Ferrari car. So they're proving themselves. They got a very good little pairing with those two. So moving on to AlphaTauri then, this was, for me, a very disappointing race for them because Pierre Gasly, after P5 after qualifying, it was really the decision to go into the wet tyre that really undone the race. And more like it was the decision not to pit Pierre Gasly to come onto the intermediate tyre. Why? The problem with that is that at that point, he was just dropping like a stone. And all he was just going to guarantee himself by staying out is just dropping more positions. You might as well pit, get on the intermediate tyres, and then hope, and then you'll end up putting your luck in something else, that something may happen to the other drivers. But at least you'll have more pace at your disposal. And the Haas's won't exactly be tricky to clear, considering they're not particularly fast, and Nikita Mazepin will probably end up spinning all the time. That actually did happen during the race. You might want to skip to that part in the video. But Yuki Tsunoda, on the other hand, it's that spin at the restart that's going to be hurting him more than anything else, because that was the time for Yuki to really pounce. He had fresh tyres on. The AlphaTauri, we know that was fast. It's a fast car, and it was pretty fast around this track. But it was another one of those rookie errors for Yuki Tsunoda, unfortunately. Pierre Gasly done well to recover to P8, but unfortunately, it was sort of like a rude or sort of missed opportunity. I think they were probably hoping for a dry race more than anything. So now moving on to Alfa Romeo. Despite a lackluster qualifying, this was a very, very good race in the sense that Raikkonen managed to drag it over the line to P9 despite spinning at one part of the track. I am absolutely gutted though for Antonio Giovinazzi because he was on course for a points finish. She was up in the points as well with Raikkonen, but something was caught in his brake duct, which ended up causing his brakes to overheat. So he had to come into the pits. Mechanics had to remove that piece that was overheating the brake, and unfortunately, that just destroyed any chance he had of regaining points. So Alfa Romeo will be very happy to get some points up there on the board. So well done to them, and well done to Kimi Raikkonen for making a recovery out of that spin. So moving on to the back markers now, we have Haas. Haas aren't really going to be scoring any points this year. They got two completely green completely fresh rookies that they really need to spend some time making mistakes and cutting their teeth, and mistakes were certainly made. Unfortunately, in Mick Schumacher's case, he started on the wets. It was just too much effort trying to warm up the tyres, and he ended up crashing the car at pit lane exit, which means the pit lane was closed. And he had to wait. He had to do 2 laps without a nose cone to eventually come in and change the nose, which meant he dropped all the way back. And somehow he ended up finishing ahead of Nikita Mazepin. In his usual routine, ended up spinning the car very late on towards the track. But unfortunately, I don't think Mazepin can actually be blamed for the contact with Nicholas Latifi. I think with the spray there, I think Latifi almost seemed to merge towards Mazepin. You could argue that Mazepin probably should have backed out, but at the end of the day, Latifi was ahead. He should have visibility in the mirrors. I think he should have seen that Mazepin was there. But nevertheless, it was, let's be honest, Haas aren't really expecting much. I think they're saying bring on 2022, and I think so am I for them at this point. Now, moving on to Williams. Please score a point one of these days. Unfortunately, a good qualifying translated into 2 retirements. Nicholas Latifi, after spinning out of the first lap, he tried to get back. He rejoined the track when everybody else was coming on board, and he ended up colliding with Nikita Mazepin, which you could say it was a racing incident. I can't really blame Mazepin for that one. I think Latifi, as he was ahead, he should have seen him in his mirrors, even with the amount of spray. But mind you, that's a little bit hard. But actually, with that incident, with that incident, I don't think you could put a portion of blame to any driver. Nicholas Latifi was just a very unfortunate one for him. And George Russell, on the other hand, oh man, he was livid with Valtteri Bottas. I can't wait to see this episode of Drive to Survive. It was a strange one, because coming up to the first chicane, you had Valtteri, who was almost coming inwards to George Russell. He must have seen him in his mirror, so he ended up going more towards the middle of the track, so I think to give him room. Russell then puts a wheel on the grass and then goes into the Mercedes, which, let's be honest, shouldn't have been in about P9 and P10 anyway, but that's beside the point. Russell then proceeded to get out of his car, and then he was obviously rattled by what happened. Then he went to Valtteri, and he effectively said, well, what are you doing, mate? But I think looking at that, that was essentially a racing incident. It was one of those heat of the moments things for George Russell, unfortunately. But if you think his race went bad, I think with Valtteri, he should have been much higher up there. So it's another rude opportunity for Williams, and I'll have to wait one race longer when they actually score a point. So sadly. So there you have it. There's my quick race reaction for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. What did you think of the race that went on in Imola? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. And if you like the video, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm going to be notified of whenever I produce any new videos. So once again, thank you all very much for watching. I've been Spark. You guys have been brilliant. Thank you all so much for watching. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.